stalls?
Don't know.
My computer says 6:59. All right. Are we ready to record? Okay.
I started it.
Oh, you did? Okay. It's okay. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Maple Plains City Council meeting. It is 7 p.m. on Monday, October 25th. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item of business this evening is adopting tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Cahill,
I'll second.
second by DeLong. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all approving in favor of approving the agenda as is signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Tonight, we have a very special presentation that is being made, and I am honored to make it on behalf of Carol Mueller, the president of Minnesota Women in City Government, who could not be here. Normally, this award would be given at the League of Minnesota Cities annual conference, which is a big deal with stage and lights and a bunch of cities and wonderful representatives there. But tonight, we get to do it in our very own hometown, and I am a Minnesota Women in City Government board member, so it is my honor to present this award to our very own Councilmember Caitlin Cahill, and I will be reading her nomination to share with you tonight. Caitlin is presently in her 5th year serving as an elected council member for the great city of Maple Plain. Caitlin was previously appointed and served 3 terms on the Hennepin County Library Board. She served for 9 years in this appointed position, holding various positions including vice president, secretary, and policy chair. Caitlin goes above and beyond what is expected of her as an elected official. She does not seek to be in the spotlight or a position of power. She genuinely cares about policy, procedures, and what is truly best, not only for the city, but the greater good. A recent example of a contribution Councilmember Cahill made was on Earth Day. She went out and picked up garbage in the local park. Of course, she didn't tell anyone about her act of service, but our public works staff happened to report it during staff reports. Councilmember Cahill has made countless contributions to the community, some of them more visible than others. She has a legacy of innovation with the IT department at Orono Schools, where she worked to ensure all students had equitable access to the technology they needed to learn both inside and outside the classroom. She has impacted Hennepin County directly through her 9 years of service on the library board, where she was an advocate for all people and the representation of the entire county, especially Western Hennepin County. As policy chair, she worked to protect people's intellectual freedom and right to privacy. During the past 5 years as an elected official, she has been an integral part in improving Maple Plain by advocating for safety equipment for the fire department, supporting diverse uses of our parks, and helping implement long-term street improvement plans. She has been instrumental on the Personnel Committee, helping to modernize our employee policies. She is always challenging the council to see the bigger picture and to think about the impacts of our decisions. such as the effects of pesticides on children and the environment, or how road salt affects our water. Caitlin sets an example not only for girls and women, but for everyone to follow through her actions and her speech. She treats everyone with respect. She is consistent, educated, and she does her diligence before making decisions. When she disagrees with someone, she calmly communicates why and is not afraid to vote against it, even if she is the only one. I truly believe that Caitlin wants to make not only Maple Plain and Minnesota a better place, but the world, and she is committed to doing so. And all of her years of service have proven this to be so. So it is my honor tonight, on behalf of the Minnesota Women in City Government, to present Councilmember Caitlin Cahill for outstanding leadership of an elected official 2021. Thank you. So thank you for your service and for representing our city so well.
Thank you.
All right. Next item of business this evening is visitors to be heard. And this is for people not here for the street assessment. So if there's anyone here to speak regarding anything else on the agenda for visitors to be heard. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item number 7 this evening, our consent agenda. Our consent agenda includes minutes of September 13th City Council Workshop, minutes of September 14th City Council Special Meeting, minutes of September 15th City Council Workshop, minutes of September 27th City Council Workshop, minutes of September 27th City Council Regular Meeting, and our 2021 Reconstruction Project Pay Request number 3. With that, I'm looking for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda A through B.
So moved?
Moved by Cahill,
Second.
second by DeLuca. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving consent agenda A through B.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item of business this evening is number 8, accounts payable, and I will turn that over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Nothing too much jumping out as we have a city check batch in the amount of $193,700.25. Fire partnership batch totaling $16,023.42. We did have one note on regarding building permit surcharges that are paid to the state had apparently not been filed for a number of years, so that total was $775.31. We did not have any interest or late fees on those filings, though. So.
Okay. With that report, I am looking for a motion to approve the city check batch in the amount of $193,725.
Can I ask 2 quick questions for clarification?
Sure.
Page 22 of the packet, Klein Underground. Pave out gravel trail at Rainbow Park. Was this the new addition off of Parkview?
Correct. Yep. That little segment.
Okay.
The cut across.
And then Orono School District. I see there's 2 months. Are we prepaying? Are we going to get on a schedule of paying the month in advance? I'm sorry, page 23.
I am not certain why there are 2 months at the same time.
And the only reason I ask that is if that's the case, then we're going to be, in December, we'll be paying January. Prefer not to do that.
I will look into that.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding accounts payable? So we are looking for a motion to approve the city check batch.
I'll make.
Oops, moved by DeLong.
Second.
Second by Fay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the city check batch?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we are looking for a motion to approve the fire partnership check batch. Any discussion regarding that? Okay, then looking for a motion to approve the fireship partnership check batch totaling $23.42.
So moved.
Moved by Cahill,
Second.
second by DeLuca. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item of business is our staff reports, and it is our quarterly council meeting, so we are excited tonight to have many of our staff members with us. So we will begin with our city planner, Mark, and I'll invite you to the podium.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, council members. Great to see everybody tonight. For the month of October, a couple of kind of key things that the city and staff continue to work on the downtown redevelopment project. We've had quite a few meetings with the potential developer of that project, as well as staff just internally to go through the process, the kind of key deal points for that process, and have just been working on some of those background related items, trying to get us to a point where we can bring forward a proposal for that project in over the next month or so. We've kind of done some closeout work on some of the projects we recently approved, including the 3500 Highway 12, the 5305 Pioneer Creek Drive, and the 1675 Spring Avenue project. So once those go through council, then there's some follow-up work. We've been working on trying to get those to a point where they can get moving on construction. Continue to have some miscellaneous sign permits for new businesses or businesses that are switching over. We had the auto repair place on Highway 12. We've got a couple others in the Gateway Mall area that we've had, and so we continue to review those. And then a couple of properties that are kind of on the market we keep working on, talking to potential builders and redevelopers of those properties. So outside of that, just kind of day-to-day miscellaneous questions on various things going on in the city. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the report or any of the planning activities.
Any questions for Mark? All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for your submitted report and all your work.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Next, we'll hear from West Hennepin Public Safety, our Police Chief, Director Gary Krales.
Honorable Mayor and council members, included in your packet is the September activity report for West Hennepin Public Safety. Through the month of September, we've handled 3,740 incident complaints. In the month of September, we've handled 324 in Independence, 116 in Maple Plain. I know you have a busy agenda tonight, and you know I like to talk, so I'll highlight only a few. Because I looked at your packet, and so you're going to have a long night. So just highlight September 2nd. It didn't happen in Maple Plain, but it was in Independence, County Road 6 and County Road 90. Obviously, that was our official detour for Highway 12 most of the summer. And unfortunately, 12:29 p.m., someone was killed on County Road 6, just east of 90 on a fatal car crash. The initial investigation of the case is that the person that was westbound County Road 6, witness statements and evidence on the scene, they had began weaving right before the crash, actually entered into the ditch, struck a bunch of mailboxes that were along the road there, and then overcorrected across the center line into the path of an oncoming semi that was eastbound on Highway 12. Our officers quickly arrived to render aid. However, the person had died at the scene due to that crash. It's still under investigation, and sometimes we just never know why. Why did that occur? And you know, everybody asks me all the time, what was it? Was it this? Was it that? Our investigations typically take about 6 months on these particular cases, but we have to be reality of we might not know, right? Could have fallen asleep, could have had a medical problem, could have been distracted. Many different factors cause people to make a split-second decision that sometimes ends up costing their life. One thing you've heard me say many times before along Highway 12, your room or your error is very slim. One small mistake can lead to a catastrophic incident, and I think that's the case here today with that particular case as well. On September 7th, Highway 12 Baker Park Road in Maple Plain, we stopped a vehicle that was driving through the road closed construction area, which unfortunately it got more typical as the further along the construction that occurred, but this particular driver from Blaine admitted the violation. The officer observed a glass meth pipe on the front seat, small amount of marijuana, and he had a baggie of crystal-like substance, tested later to be methamphetamine. They were transported to Hennepin County Jail for 5th-degree gross misdemeanor possession of meth and cited for driving after suspension. I want to talk about a case at about 1 p.m. Highway 12 on September 18th, Pioneer Creek Center in Maple Plain. One of our officers, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, noted that the front license plate of a vehicle turning on the Highway 12 was missing. The vehicle also had no rear license plate. The officer went to pull the vehicle over for not having any plates. They quickly accelerated into the Wink building, turned north. As soon as the officer caught up, the driver was fleeing out the driver's door into the woods to the west. As the officer looked in the car, he saw an older female in the passenger seat and a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old kid in the back seat. So the officer pursued with his vehicle not on foot. She crossed Highway 12, went over to Herculift. The officer was given commands that she's under arrest and to get down. She then proceeded to flee again north across the highway back towards her vehicle, and he was able to take into custody. Her mother was the passenger in the vehicle, and the 2 children were hers. She was arrested for fleeing an officer on foot, driving while canceled, inimical to public safety. Typically somebody that has that cancellation on their license. It's not a suspension for not paying fines or your typical revocation for a DWI. If you're canceled, inimical to public safety, you've been deemed too many DWI violations and drinking and driving offenses that the state actually really doesn't want you to drive. Well, she had that offense. She had been drinking, open container, a fireball in the car, along with her 7 and 5-year-old kid in the car as well. So she was taken to Hennepin County Jail and booked on those particular charges. I'll highlight maybe one in August just because there's a couple good ones in here that people like to hear. I like to talk about sometimes. I bring up August 10th about an attempted burglary in Independence at 4:37 a.m. We've been really lucky and fortunate this year, but a lot of the cities around us have not been so lucky with people breaking into their homes, their vehicles, stealing their property. Just by chance, a young male was sleeping in his parents' basement off of Polo Club Road. He got up to get a drink of water at their lower level bar, and he looked over at the lower level door and saw the door handle open and the door begin to open. He yelled. He never saw the person, but obviously somebody was coming in to burglarize the house. We conducted a canine search and tracking and perimeter of the area for several hours, and we did not find the suspect, as we believe that they had fled in a vehicle, and we currently surveilled all the ring cameras, any other surveillance in the area, and we're unable to find the suspect at this time. I'll bring up August 13th, an open door in the 5000 block of Highway 12 in Maple Plain at 9:03 p.m. This case is very disturbing to me, but it's a trend that law enforcement, unfortunately, has been going through for the last few years. But somebody went into a local business in Maple Plain, and cash register was there. Nobody was there. They wanted to buy something, couldn't find the person inside, no employees. Officers arrived, found an open door towards the back. They found that the bathroom door and the break room door was locked. Gave plenty of commands. This is the police, come out. To no avail. The officers had to force the door open, and there was a male employee seated in the chair in the back storage room, and he stood up and pointed his finger at the officers and went bang, like he had a gun, and he refused to identify himself. He was an intoxicated employee working for the business that tested a .16 at the time of employment. The business owner was notified and he was fired on the spot. Obviously, he was released to a sober person to take care of him, and he obviously has a drinking problem. So I just wanted to bring that up because that's not typical of our small communities that we serve, and kind of took our officers by surprise. But it just goes to show drugs and alcohol, sometimes people make very poor decisions, even when the police are there trying to help. Why is there an open door at a business that's open and nobody's there to help the patrons? So be happy to answer any questions that you have in regards to the activity reports. Glad to see the highways back open again. September 17th was a great day for the business owners for Maple Plain, and traffic is flowing again through your town.
Yes. We are happy to see that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Any questions for the chief regarding the written report or the verbal report? All right, thank you for your work
All right,
and
thank
keeping
you.
us safe. Next, we'll hear from our city engineer, David.
Yes, Your Honor, members of the council, my report's in your packet. Fairly brief this month. As you can see, Mark had touched on some of the planning items that he's working on, so we've had some ongoing correspondence reviews associated with the planning projects, development projects that are going on in town. Clarissa and I have been corresponding with the status of the CIP, talking about needed improvements as you're preparing your budget. You had mentioned the trail paving in Rainbow Park, that along with the patch on Bud Avenue where we had the water main, or the water work that we did when it was frozen. That's been put back together now, so we're just coordinating that work, and then just kind of our ongoing staff meetings and other miscellaneous items. I note the Highway 12 water main project in here. As you remember at the last meeting, we talked about the status of that and determined it was appropriate this time to take a little bit bigger view picture of the water main system and determine what the best route is for improvements to that system along Highway 12. And then really a good share of our work is associated with the street project, which we'll talk about tonight, our ongoing construction administration, observation services, and then a fair amount of time put into preparing for tonight's assessment hearing.
Thank you for that update. Any questions for our engineer?
I just have a quick one. So the parking lot in the park, will that also get a second lift in the
Yes.
spring? Okay.
Yeah, and weather depending still yet this fall,
Okay.
and then striping with the parking lot as well. Obviously, we won't do the striping until that last lift is on, but yes, it does have one more lift.
Thank you for that update and for your continued work. Next, we'll hear from Dylan with People Service and Public Works. Invite you to the podium. Good evening.
A few things from the last month. We were obviously in a drought. That didn't seem to affect us too much with our wells, which was kind of nice considering it did affect a lot of the cities in the area. We were dealing with a lot of water quality issues, had a lot of complaints, and just been spending a lot of time troubleshooting that, trying to figure out the issue there. We think we may have found it with the backwashing sequence that was not correct. We were having some issues with some valves that were opening when they shouldn't have been, and we think we corrected that with our integrator. So hopefully that gets better with time. We won't really know right away. It's not like fixing a pump where you just know it's running. You know, takes a little bit of time. Just hopefully we get less water quality complaints. Otherwise, we will be continuing to troubleshoot. And also, Greg Stang, my regional manager, will probably be a little more knowledgeable on that subject too, if you guys have any further questions on that. We just got done with the hydrant flushing for the year, so hopefully that also helps with the water quality issues, clearing all that iron and manganese that we were dumping into our drinking water when we were backwashing. Getting that out of the water distribution pipes should help. We got our well inspections done, safety inspections done, everything seemed all right there, except for our well 4. We did have a bad reading on our mag test, which was surprising considering that well is only 4 years old. They recommended, it was Trout Wells who we had do it, and they recommended that we get another mag test done in the spring before our wells are running more often in the summer, just to double check that mag test. He said sometimes that those low readings aren't always a concern, but a lot of times they are. So I just kind of keep that in check and hope for the best. And working on, we got street sweeping going right now, so that should be done in a couple days. Just with the drought and the warm weather, is spent a lot of time in the parks too the last few months with weed control. And yeah, for this next quarter, I think I had the same goal for the last quarterly report, but it didn't get done. Just trying to keep up with one guy, is getting more work orders into our program for maintaining the equipment, because there is very few in our work order program for this city. And get some roof inspections done on some of the city buildings. And still waiting on another quote for jetting, and then we can hopefully get something going there before the end of the year, working with Dave on that and some other companies, and yeah, hopefully get some of that fill hauled away. I think that would be helpful for the fire department with getting their trucks back there to fill up in emergencies. Still need to do that. And yeah, just gotta get the sand volleyballer pit moved in Rainbow Park yet. That is another thing that has been on my list pretty much all summer. But other than that, just looking forward to having more time in the water plant, getting things kind of cleaned up and ready for another busy season. So, you guys have any questions?
Councilmember Fay.
Just two for clarification. By the way, I love your reports. You had mentioned a couple of times on doing locates for possible irrigation in Veterans Memorial Park. Who's calling for irrigation in Veterans Memorial Park?
I think it was just something that we were talking about maybe getting done.
We were attempting to be forward-thinking with watering both any plants that we might decide in the future, and then that center median, because of course hindsight's always kids, yeah.
Okay.
But we were also trying to do it for virtually free, and that didn't necessarily work out, so.
Okay.
I had good intentions.
Fair enough. I thought we were going to irrigate Veterans Memorial Park.
No.
That's not in our budget.
No.
And then a point of clarification. When I look at the chart in your total water effluent versus total effluent to the lift station, every month we see hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of additional gallons going through our system every month compared to 2020.
In the water or wastewater side?
Water.
Okay.
And just the opposite in effluent going to the lift station. So do you have any idea why the correlation seems to be out of skew, that we're using more water than we did last year by hundreds of thousands, if not millions a month, and proportionately using fewer gallons going to the Met Council?
So we were in a severe drought this year, so irrigation systems were going nonstop.
Okay.
Because we didn't have any restrictions on our water like most cities did, and also we had Highway 12 construction project who was taking water from Maple Plain. I don't know if you've seen the bill that they got, but
Not yet.
they used a lot of
They were
money.
trucking
They used a
water
lot.
out.
They probably took like over 10,000 gallons a day. So sometimes 30,000 gallons a day. And also the street improvement project too. They were taking water for that. So there's just been
Okay.
a lot more construction going on, and with the severe drought too, with no water restrictions,
Makes perfect sense, thank you.
yeah, so it's not going into the drains, it's going into the construction and the yards, so you don't see it in the effluent side into the wastewater.
And also related to that, I was wondering, in comparison, do you know the numbers on the New Haven Homes building versus the Old Haven Homes building? now that
numbers
they've been-
compare, like
In
water?
terms of water gallons used, if that was part of.
I am not aware of that, no.
Okay.
Yes, I wasn't around before when the old Haven Homes was here, but I could look into that. I have the maintenance guy's contact at Haven Homes, and he is very easy to work with, so I could dig into that if you would like.
It was just more a curiosity question. I didn't know if that was some of the higher volume with the larger facility and.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Dylan regarding Public Works? All right, thank you for your
Thank you.
update and for your work. Next, we'll hear from Chief Corey Schultz with the Fire Department.
Mayor and council, thank you. Go over some September highlights here. Unfortunately, Chief McCoy can't be with us tonight following a knee surgery, so he's asked me to go over some notes from September and just kind of the highlights from the fire department here. So September, we had 2022 budget preliminary approval at that point, which I believe still kind of working on. September 13th, the Fire Commission meeting attended by Chief McCoy. For the month of September, responded to 38 calls, mostly medicals, 371 hours of personnel for the 38 calls for the month, which was kind of high for us. So not an average month, but yeah, mostly medicals, and we were able to meet the bell there, so that was good. Monthly officers meetings have continued to go on, kind of planning as 2022 forecast is not far off here, so we continue to meet with the officers and prepare for 2022. Garage door repair, we had overhead doors at the station break, as well as the infrared heater in the base stations, which has now been fixed and solved, so fortunate to get that done, but that was kind of a highlight in September with the broken doors, the infrared system for the heat not working in there. That is all back up and a full go. Open house, October is fire prevention rather. That first week, we had people at the schools. That went really well. Orono schools, we spent better part of 2 days meeting with the kids, going over apparatus, just kind of showing them the ins and outs of the fire department. In lieu with that, we had the open house at the fire department, date October 2nd. In lieu of a steak fry, we did a food truck and really focused on the kids. We had great attendance. We had some rain that day, but the attendance was incredible. The turnout, we thought, head count number somewhere, we were hoping 450, 500, something in there of people coming in through the day. So the attendance was great. The focus on the kids, one thing we really highlighted and did was we had an activity center where if you went on a truck ride, if you went check out trucks, spray water, there was a little checklist that you got. If you completed that, turn it in, get a free scoop of ice cream from the ice cream vendor that was there. We ended up doing somewhere near about 90 pieces of ice cream that we handed out to the kids, in addition to what the parents purchased. The food truck, while we don't know final numbers on it, in talking to BSQs, who was the vendor, numbers were great. They sold out of a bunch of food, so again, just showed that great day in the community. We had good participation. So that was the open house. Training, September training, we did a bunch of EMR, emergency medical training. So a lot of our calls are medicals. That's where we continue to focus a lot of our training within the community. So September saw additional training there. The 38 calls, again, high for the month. I think you all received a call report that Chief McCoy sent out earlier today, just kind of recapping the month there to be able to do. So busy month. October has gone quickly and November is right around the corner, but things on the fire department side right now are running real well.
Any questions for Fire Chief Schultz? All right. Thank you for your report and your
Appreciate
work
you
and
guys.
the great
Thank you.
open house. All right. Next, we'll have Administration and Finance, and I'll turn that over to our City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just kind of a quick summary of my administrator update. We've got quite a few projects that we've been juggling since I started, and trying to wrap up a number of those. I feel like we're coming into this sort of pre-end of year hustle, as opposed to our spring hustle, our audit hustle, our mid-year hustle, et cetera. But so we've got, some of these larger projects that we've been working on, utility rates study, we've got just a few things left on that. That will tie in again then to the fee schedule. We have our recodification project, which is a pretty significant project that's currently in the hands of the city attorney for the most part, and to finish up a few things, hoping to get that to you folks by January or so. We have some ongoing financial projects, so the escrow accounts, trying to wrap that up by the end of this year so we don't have to address that at next year's audit. Obviously, the 2022 budget process has been very time intensive. And then we have some smaller projects like wrapping up the Veterans Memorial Park grant, and just sort of miscellaneous financial processes to tweak a little bit here and there. We are this close. Meadows Tot Lot is essentially finished, just a couple of items that kind of hammering the developer a little bit on that. And hopefully that will get off of our plates at some point in the future. Downtown, and just a few kind of final sort of more fun stuff that is happening and very exciting for the community. So downtown development, obviously, lots going on there, like Mark had said, and then some fun events. I attended Art in the Park this week that was hosted by Community Ed, and they had a great showing for that. I attended the fire department open house, great showing for that. The guys did a great job. And then we got some free trees from Hennepin County, which I thought was very exciting. I think Dylan found it significantly less exciting as he was planting all of those. So I appreciate that, Dylan. And then also kudos to Dylan for finding that water system programming issue. Really was telling me about kind of how he sort of tripped over it, and it's really impressive, actually. Like, it was just a very you have to be very detail oriented to catch that. So good on him. And that's about it. Any questions?
Any questions? All right, hearing none, I am looking for a motion to accept both the verbal and the written reports from all of our staff and consultants this evening.
So moved.
Moved by DeLuca,
Second.
second by Fay. Any further questions? All in favor of accepting the staff reports?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item of business is our quarterly financial report, and I will turn that over to Clarissa. Are you able to put the graphs up on the screen, or will that mess up our next presentation?
No, in theory, that's a possibility.
I just thought, since we have so many people here with us tonight, and for
I
people
will
online
see
too,
what I have.
since it's different. Right? No, it's only this one.
My mouse disappeared. I don't, is this a touch screen? Nope, I can't. The whole
Okay.
thing's broken. Can you see it up there? Oh, you can see it up there. It's not on my,
You got 3 screens going, I think.
I have. Nope, I have absolutely no idea what's going on here.
Okay.
Do we have a computer person in the house?
You would have to exit the presentation.
I can't, I don't have a mouse. Do you see it? Oh, wait.
Or in PowerPoint, she has it.
Escape, it'll reduce it
here
so
we
you
go.
can minimize it.
I tried escape. Hold on. I think I got it. That's enough to give me a heart attack in a public meeting with a bunch of people staring at me, by the way. Sorry.
Do an IT skills test live.
Okay, so do I have a packet here? 2 seconds. then my column titles are missing, but I'll just kind of point here. I seem to lose my war with technology regularly. So just kind of an overall, mentioned in the first paragraph, so this is the third quarter report, so we are theoretically roughly 75% through the year. Our general fund utilization is at about 72%. That does exclude a planned transfer to CIP and the water funds. These are regular transfers. With those included, our utilization is closer to 81%. Now, I will also note that, well, here, so this first column is the executive, so that is city council, as well as some consultants that we have utilized throughout the year. So we are, get over here. So it looks like we're about $15,000 over on that. That will kind of balance itself out. Many of those sort of unbudgeted funds came from the Baker Tilly, the administrator search, and then also strategic planning. But we were kind of under budgeted a little bit in that department. The second column over is administration, legal services, planning, and zoning. And so we appear to be around 20,000-ish over for that department. Again, it will kind of balance itself out because of the interim administrator, Frank Boyles, his wages were in here. Although we do have some unbilled consulting fees that will come in as well. So city buildings, we have had some charges earlier in the year for some repair and maintenance at the fire hall, the HVAC at the fire hall. And then we also will be having the charges for the heat repair and the door repair. So, and that department had, that repair and maintenance for that had been not budgeted.
Sorry, was that column 3?
Yes, yes it is, column 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So that had been, well, that particular line item was budgeted 0, but looks like there was some budgeted within there. Public Works, highways, or streets. So Public Works, streets, and parks. I just want to note, you know, we've done a lot of review of our budgets and making sure that what we are paying is being put into the right account, the right bucket, per se. And so some of the numbers that were budgeted aren't necessarily, wouldn't have been where I would put that. So snow plowing, for instance, had been paid out of Public Works. I personally believe that should be paid out of streets. So there's kind of these sort of what I think are sort of common sense, trying to make sure that we're seeing a representation within our finances of the activities that we do. So I've been trying to kind of look at those almost holistically, kind of within those 3 departments together. But we're just a little over on fuels, a little, maybe potentially a little over on engineering for the year again. So this is, I'm looking at it as a if we had paid 75% viewpoint. So highway, streets, and roadways, again, engineering, contract services, and utilities, just kind of shifting some stuff around. And then parks, probably a little under budgeted with supplies, contract services, insurance. We've kind of shifted some stuff around with insurance, and then utilities had not been previously billed out of this account. So, you know, all in all, you know, except for that transfer, you know, we might want to consider, you know, rethinking that transfer to CIP. So that's something we should kind of contemplate. but trying to keep the costs down and trying to get a realistic idea of our expenditures at the same time, so. Any questions?
Any questions for Clarissa regarding the quarterly financial report? Okay. Looking for a motion to receive that report.
So moved.
Moved by DeLong,
Second?
second by Cahill. All in favor of receiving the quarterly financial report?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's 5-0. All right. Next item of business tonight is our public hearing regarding the 2021 Reconstruction project. And I'm going to turn that over to David and Clarissa.
It's all you. Oh, yes, I will attempt to figure out how to do that.
Not yet.
All right. Well, Your Honor, members of the council, what I'll do here before we open it up to the public is just kind of give you an overview of kind of a little bit of the history, the process we've gone through to get to this point, and then some of the information that now you've been provided as you look to set a final assessment roll for this project. So obviously the overview, which everybody's well familiar with at this point, reconstruction of Drake, Gladview, Perkins, and Bradford Street. Within the project area, we added curb and gutter and storm sewer. We replaced water main and water services within the right-of-way, along with sanitary sewer main and sewer services. Oh, thanks. God, it gave me control. Oh, and then I screwed it up. How do I do that? Next. Oh, I see. Okay, there we go. So obviously here, just the highlighted map of the project area. Again, we replaced all the water main and water services within the project area, along with the sanitary sewer. And then these are the properties within the project area that have proposed assessments associated with them. So just to give you an overview of kind of, again, where we started and where we're at now tonight. Really, it was almost a year ago to the date where we were authorized to prepare a feasibility study for this project. We worked on that study. It was December when we brought a draft to you, kind of rolling this out. We brought some questions to the council about kind of the assessment method. We talked about storm sewer limits, just some of the scope of the project, got some direction from the council so that we could final up the feasibility report. And then in February, if you recall, we had a virtual open house. This was back in the days where everything was still virtual. And we had a Zoom meeting and gave basically really two opportunities to present information related to the project. The intent of the open house was a little bit more of an informal setting. And then on February 22nd is when we had the improvement hearing where we presented the final feasibility report and public had an opportunity to comment on the project. At that point, you authorized moving forward with the project, so plans and specifications were prepared. And so in August then, we received bids and you awarded a construction project to Keekley Construction. And it was towards the end of April when you put your project financing in place. Throughout the project, we've been trying to do a good job of providing information about what's going on, both with the process and construction. We've been posting information to the city website. We've had weekly newsletters and other notifications that we've been providing during construction. And ultimately, we're at the point where we're near substantial completion on the project. And that brings us here tonight on October 25th, where we have the assessment hearing. So we'll go through kind of the proposed assessments and give the public the opportunity to provide you some feedback. So just as a recap or a reminder, the city's assessment policy, and I say assessment policy slash past practice. Your assessment policy is in your code, and that was what was used for providing the assessment roll that's been prepared. Based on past policy, 35% of all project costs were assessed on a unit basis. And just to remind you, when we talked about the unit basis, I believe the past projects, you've done things on a per foot or a front footage basis. One of the interesting things about this project area is over half of the lots are irregular shaped. And so it, not that you can't do the assessments on a front footage basis, but you end up having to make an adjustment. So essentially, if you were to have a pie-shaped lot that's 50 feet in the front, 100 feet in the back, what we would do is average that, and we figure a 75-foot frontage for that. So it gets to be a little bit of basically over half the lots you're making some sort of an adjustment to try to provide some equity in that system. So for this project, we determined that essentially everybody was getting the same improvements. Lots were similar shaped, similar values, that a unit basis was appropriate for this project. So that's how it was put together. Corner lots that have been previously assessed for street improvements within the last 10 years were not assessed for street or storm. And then only properties receiving new utility services with this project were assessed for utilities. So a couple of those corner lots where they were on the last project plus this project, there were some either a street assessment that maybe didn't apply to them or utilities. So again, going back to the feasibility study, at the time the report was prepared, we were estimating a project cost that had assessments for street and storm of $468,500, which equated to $12,200 approximately per unit. Water main and services, $212,000 and $5,300 a unit. Sewer, you can see $112,000 and $3,000 a unit. Combined, if you were a property that was going to receive assessments for all three of those components, the proposed assessments, or the estimated assessments, I should say, were $20,580. So since that time, obviously we've gone out for competitive bids for the project, and we have a better understanding of the actual project costs. So applying that same methodology, same policy and past practice, you can see how those costs come out. $379,000 for street and storm, so $9,900 a unit. The water portions equate to $3,700 a unit. Sewer services, $3,400 a unit. So if you combine that, again, if you were a property that was receiving all of those new improvements, the assessment would be $17,167.35. So, along with that, though, this spring authorized a report for CBRE to go out and take a look at the properties, and based on more of an assessment or appraisal approach, ask them what their opinion of the improvements was. Their report lists that the maximum benefit was $475,449. So if you took that assessable amount and basically keep the proportions the same between street, water, sewer, the way that math shakes out is the combined assessment then for all three of those things is $12,577. What I will say is, from my perspective, the CBRE report is something that you need to consider while you're making your determination on what the final assessment should be. I think that the report is interesting from the standpoint of it kind of picks a specific point in time where it's trying to measure what the value of these improvements are versus the value of a house. From my perspective, the value is it is what it is. If you look at it from a couple years ago, we've done the same thing with water, sewer, streets, applied the same methodology. It would make sense that over a couple years that the value of those improvements go up. So again, just this is information obviously that you need to consider. The other thing I would just note is that typically from an assessment standpoint, there is some value in having some consistency with the way you apply this over time, and you should also consider that as you weigh the information that you have. The terms, the assessments are payable in equal installments over 20 years. First installment would be in January 2022, and the balance would bear interest at a rate of 2.74% per annum from the date of the adoption of the assessment resolution. The next step then would be, certainly I'd take questions from you if you have them at this time. Otherwise, would suggest that you open the public hearing, give members of the public a chance to address the council with their comments. Once comments have been received, we'll close the public hearing. You'll have an opportunity then to discuss the information, the comments that you've received, and then the next step would be adopting a final assessment roll, which you could either do tonight or choose to do at a future meeting, depending on kind of where you're at the end of the discussions. And then ultimately, what you need to do is to certify those assessments to Hennepin County by the end of November. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for me. Otherwise, or if anything for Clarissa that she'd like to add. Otherwise, I'd suggest you open it up for public comment.
Anything, Clarissa, from you?
I was just going to mention I did have a brief conversation with another appraiser who just took a very quick look at Mr. Meeks's review and didn't necessarily agree with his methodology. Obviously, she's not going to give us any type of real numbers unless we purchased a report from her. But there's a lot to contemplate, I guess, between the report and the statute, obviously, and such. So it's been an interesting process, I'll say that.
Okay. Any questions from council for staff at this time?
So this being my first time going through this process, either as a resident or as a city council member, is it unheard of that more than one assessment firm would be hired to, when we go out for a bid on something this large, we're obviously going to always look at least three bids. I know this is not a bid per se, but is that best practice at all, or has never been done?
I would say typically you would pick one firm that you're comfortable with. Now, whether or not you get multiple quotes from a competitive standpoint, I guess would be up to you. I know in the past that you use CBRE, which I believe is kind of why we went that direction. But I would say it would be unusual for you to have two people kind of trying to provide you similar information. Just kind of puts you in a spot as to one more piece of information that it could confirm what you're looking at, or it could add further confusion if they're not matching up too. So typically you would pick one firm you're comfortable with and ask them for the information.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. I'm looking for a motion at this time to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Cahill,
I'll second.
second by DeLong. The public hearing is open at 7:56. So at this time, I would invite any residents forward to speak. We would ask that you would state your name and address clearly for the minutes, and so staff can follow up with you if need be. And try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, and not everyone say the same thing. All right, the podium is open.
My name is Ira Thomas. I live at 4833 Bradford Street. And I dropped a letter off here the other day on the 21st, and I'll just read that letter. Dear council members, this letter is to inform you as the city of Maple Plain of our objection to the amount of the specific special assessment resulting from 2021 street reconstruction. Our home residents, and I've already given that to you. State statute indicates that the special assessment cannot exceed the value added to the property, and special assessment of $17,167.15 or 35 cents exceeds the value added to the property. An independent appraisal by CBRE, who evidently you contracted on that, states that the maximum supportable benefit is $14,338 on this property. It appears to be a who you know form of property assessing for the recent reconstruction. Just a couple of years ago, Independence and Howard Street reconstruction assessment was based on the frontage linear footage rather than the same flat fee assessment for all properties. For properties such as ours with a very short frontage width, it appears we've been being hit twice, one with an overcharge by the flat rate, and secondly, with the excessive special assessment versus the maximum supportable benefit received. A request is being made to adjust the special assessment to correspond to the independent appraisal that was commissioned by the Maple Plains City Council. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to speak to the differences again? I know you did.
Yeah, I guess if just to kind of, I guess, we summarize the irregular shaped lot issue. So the idea of the adjustment would be if you could visualize two properties at a cul-de-sac. One's shaped like this, the other one's shaped like this. They could be the exact same size, have the exact same house on it. If you went just by the front footage, one would have a very small assessment, one would have a larger assessment. So the idea is you would make the adjustment by basically taking the average between the short side and the long side in an effort to try to even those things out. Again, when we were looking at so many irregular shaped lots, it made sense to us that it would be on a per unit basis for this. If you look at the last project, with very few exceptions, if any, everything was rectangular shaped, so it just made it easier to make those calculations. So that was the methodology, or the thought process anyway.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Stefan Shearson. I live at 4914 Drake Street. I first wanted to start out by commending the contractor and the engineer for the work on the project. Once they got started, the contractor has been working very diligently and efficiently, and this has been very disruptive to residents, so it's great to see them working as hard and as long as they have. And also minimizing impacts to properties is another key thing I wanted to mention. Bolton Mink has done an excellent job of communicating with residents with their weekly newsletter and other flyers, which has been great. I'd especially like to commend Karth Whiteside, who's the inspector on site, who's been very available, very responsive. I've had a driveway project I was trying to coordinate timing-wise with the contractor, and he's been very helpful, very communicative in helping me get my project done, so it's been great. My wife and I strongly object to the cost-based method here of determining the assessment and support the more benefit or appraisal-based method for the street project. I understand there's a state statute that states that cities cannot assess more than the value of the benefit received from the project. So if that's the case, then not only using the benefit or the appraised value method of determining assessment is not only the right thing, but really the legal thing to do. But determining what that value is, of course, is the difficult question. I understand it's not an exact science. That's why we have appraisers. But really the true value of what something is worth is what someone is willing to pay for, right? So, and really utilizing an appraiser is really the best way, especially one that is highly respected and certified, that really is the more accurate way of determining the value to residents, and really the fairest way of determining that assessment for residents. I understand that past projects that the council has not always been consistent with their method in terms of how they've assessed for these types of projects. If the argument is that using cost-based method is more of a precedent based on past projects. I would simply say that two wrongs don't really make a right in this situation, that in this situation, really, now is the right time to do the right thing. So I strongly encourage you to consider the appraisal-based method for assessments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sherson. Any other public comment? Any other?
Mayor and council members, Camille Pearson Walls, 4924 Drake Street. I would just like to say pretty much the same thing that Stefan Sherson has said. Really pleased with the project, the communication, and again, I'm definitely for that appraisal fee. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson Walls.
Mayor and Council, Dave Butterfus, 4859 Bradford Street. I would also echo that the way Carth and the communication went was excellent. Very, very well done. I do oppose the way the assessment as far as unit was done, and I also have a letter. This letter is to inform the City of Maple Plain of objection to the special assessment on home resident property, 4859 Bradford Street, Maple Plain. Minnesota State Statute states that 429.051, the special assessment cannot exceed the value added to the property. Special assessment of $17,167.35 exceeds the value. An independent appraisal done by CBRE states the maximum supportable benefit is $13,375. A request is being made to adjust the special assessment to correspond to the CBRE report commissioned by the Maple Plains City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment?
My name is Kat Tucker. I own 4875 Bradford Street, and I think all of us here, you know, we originally were told 20,000. We got the assessment at 17,000, went, yay! It's 3,000 less, and then we got this information given to us about a week ago saying the assessments are too high based on the value, and I'd like to hear how the council decided to just divide it by the number of units rather than go with the information that you paid for. So I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about how that was determined.
My name is Donna Snyder. I'm 4909 Drake Street. And I just want to add to my neighbors Camille and Stephen that I agree with the evaluation and assessment that's outlined in this flyer.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Snyder.
I would like to hear how the council has ignored CBRE report and just gone forward with a per unit.
Do you want to speak to that now, or?
Oh, I can, yes. So the proposed assessment was based on following through with the methodology that was used from the start with the feasibility study. which again was based on past practice and the city code for assessments. The feasibility study was put together. The CBRE report, okay, I think it came in June. It was kind of after.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Louder.
It was after we had moved forward with the project. So when we came to the time to prepare the assessment roll, we were following through with the methodology that had been laid out since the beginning of the project. And again, now you have additional information for you to consider while you're making your final decision on the assessments. But from our standpoint, putting the proposed assessment roll together, it was following through on the methodology that had been established at the beginning of the project. Your tough job now is to take all the information that you have, including the public comments that you have, to determine what the next step is as to how to apply that information. But we were just providing you information being consistent with what was laid out from the beginning of the project.
Okay, so I was not at the meeting when that decision was made. Were there any changes, or it was just presented?
No, a lot of, well, I'll speak for myself from a staff standpoint. Heard a lot of good discussion, a lot of, I wouldn't call it debate, but a lot of discussion around all the information that had been presented and was available to the council. And ultimately, it was determined by the majority of the council that the appropriate thing to do to keep the process moving was to present the feasibility study consistent with the process that had been previously laid out, with the understanding that that didn't set the assessment at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
This assessment not only affects immediately what we pay, but it's also going to have a permanent effect on our future property taxes, the overassessment that's going on right now. And I would think everybody is quite aware of the state statute that you cannot assess more than the value that was added to the property.
And if I may,
Yes,
Your
go
Honor,
ahead.
the one thing I will say about the CBRE report is, again, I characterize it as information that you have and that you have to strongly consider. I believe Clarissa and our discussions with CBRE when they were putting this together, they were challenged by the fact that the housing market was making it difficult for them to pull out the improvements we were making and separate it from the value of a house, because right now the improvements are having a hard time keeping up with the inflation of house prices. So I just want to acknowledge that they were having a difficult time with their methodology, just trying to figure out exactly what the appropriate amount was. From my standpoint, as I told the council when we met here a couple of weeks ago, I view it differently as an engineer, that there's value to these services from a standpoint of, if they're not reliable, if we have drainage problems, if our sewer is plugging, if our water main is unreliable, that's a significant devaluing of the property in my mind. So again, this method, the methodology that you've established, you've applied over time to the point. That doesn't mean that that's what you have to stick with in the future, but that is an acceptable manner in which to determine what those assessments are, if that's what you choose to do.
Okay. Thank you.
Jeff Brown, 4850 Bradford Street in Maple Plain. Do you have the map? Can you put the map up there again? And I'm sure this won't be a popular stance, but our lot is right here, and we wrap around the cul-de-sac, and do we benefit from, say, a per parcel assessment? We do, absolutely. But lot size, you look at lot size and things like that, our lot is in many cases smaller than these lots that have a very small frontage. And do we gain more benefit by putting this in? Not really, not more than anybody else that gets it put in front of their property. So, not a property stance, but do we benefit? That's what we do. But I think it is a fair way to assess it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown.
If I have 75 feet of frontage, and somebody else has 200 to 300 feet of frontage, I fail to see how the special assessment can be equalized to that extent. You can put a maximum maybe on somebody that has 200 to 300 square feet or the running footage, but I do not believe for somebody to have 75, 100 feet of frontage to be assessed the same as somebody that has 200 to 300 feet of frontage is an equitable way to do it. Somebody's getting more value added to the property than somebody else.
Thank you.
My name is Cynthia Fulkerson. I live at 1835 Gladview Lane. I only have approximately 30 feet of frontage, and I have an 18-foot driveway that is at the same level, it was at the same level as the street, so there's only 4 feet of asphalt placed. Meanwhile, other people are getting their driveways cemented, they're doing other things to it, adding a lot more length to the driveway. And I just feel like that's unfair. I'm only getting 4 feet of asphalt added to, you know, the driveway. And anyway, it seems unfair. 30 feet is my total frontage to the street. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkerson.
My name is Ralph Knitka, and I've been a resident at 4834 Bradford Street since 1973. And I only have 50 foot of frontage. I'm not complaining about the fact that I have to pay as much as somebody that's got 3 times that length. But I think that a more proper way to assess this would be based on those figures that you got here on the assessment that you paid for. Increase in market value, just like we do anything on our home. If we add a new deck, add something to our house, the market value goes up. But you got to remember that we're going to be paying taxes on that increased value forever, based on your rates. So I think that based on your new assessed value according to the statute of Minnesota should not exceed what the market value was increased.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else to speak for public comment? Anyone else to speak for public comment tonight? Okay.
My name is Corey O'Gara, and I live at 4874 Drake Street. And we happen to have a corner lot. which has got all the way around. And the original notice we got, actually when we first talked to Garth, which was, he was more than accommodating, walked us around the whole property, explained that he was pretty sure the way the city was doing it was going to be divided, how many units, into the project cost. Okay, so at least, because we told him, you know, we're both retired, we're gonna be assessed out of here. We'll have to move. We've been here since 1973, love the town. Then, after the project began, we heard different thoughts on it. We got the letter from the city dated October 6th. And that was the one where it was, you know, gave the meeting date. Also explained how it was going to be, everybody had the same amount, you know, assessment. I thought, okay, well, that must be the units divided into everything. I thought, well, okay, we'll see. We're going to go to this meeting, see what it's all about. Well, then Caitlin came around on Saturday, a week ago, this past Saturday. I was out in the yard and I saw you walking around, and I figured you'd come around, and then you didn't. To our house anyway. I saw you across the street and around our cul-de-sac. But you never came and talked to us, and then I talked to one of the neighbors and they said, oh no, she said this and this. So I got a copy of what you had left for the neighbor. And I was quite surprised because everything was different than the letter we received. So we were all trying to figure out what was going on, and that's why I think a lot of people are here with questions, because we're all kind of in the dark about it, you know? And I think fair's fair, and a lot of people have a lot of questions. So maybe if one of you guys could actually explain to us how we'll be assessed, how everything will work. Is that fair? Everybody? Yeah? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, Stephen Scherson again. I'd like to commend Caitlin for her time in coming around the neighborhood and informing residents of this situation. I was personally unaware that this appraisal policy was under consideration. I understand it was talked about at the last meeting, October, was it 18th?
October 4th, I was not there.
Was it the 4th? Okay. So I was trying to get online to see the video so I could understand the discussion, what was going on, and it was not available. So I think a lot of people here, as she mentioned, were unaware until Commissioner Cahill made us aware of the situation, and so that's why a lot of people are here with their concerns and with their questions. So just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Brown again. I talked to a local realtor and I asked her, I said, how much does this work increase the value of the home? And she said it's considered to be normal maintenance and it would not increase the value of your home as a result of the work that we're doing.
Ira Thomas again. I don't have a, by the way, in the communication I thought was fantastic. I should have mentioned that earlier. And Cart did a great job. And then Tom, when he filled in, he did a great job as well. But I don't have a problem with the CBRE, maximum supportable benefit. I just don't think this should be taken as an opportunity to pad the coffers in something else on our behalf, on not be on our behalf, but because of, out of our pockets. Thank you.
Last call for any public comment. All right, with that, then I'm looking for a motion to end the public hearing portion of the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Fay,
Second.
second by Councilmember DeLuca. Any further discussion?
I would like to make a proposal.
Okay.
A motion. So I'm going to start with my reasoning. This is not new to any of you. You've heard me state this for 3 different projects now. Our policy is to assess 35% of the project cost, but of the 3 projects of the 4 that I'm aware of, we've not actually held to that. My project on Bud, the initial assessment came in high when we had the appraisal done. It was lowered 30% for every project about on the project. In 2018, we also had CBRE do an appraisal on some homes, not all homes. Those 9 homes received a lower assessment because the appraisal showed it was lower. CBRE also recommended a max at that time, but council chose not to do a max, and we just did the ones that were appraised. So because it's not actually consistent, I don't think that's a reason to continue assessing based on project costs. The policy is wrong, and it continues to excessively assess our residents on special assessments. Special assessments have their place when the amount is fair. And so based on the information we have, based on previous projects, based on the professional report we have, as is often said on council, we can only make decisions based on the data we have. We seem to do that only when it's in our favor, so I would hope tonight we do it even though it may not be in our favor as a council. And so I would move that we assess the 26% assessment, which would give a per unit assessment of $12,752.89.
I'll second.
Pardon me, Mayor, I have just a point of order. We didn't actually get a motion on closing
Yeah,
the
we need
public
to-
hearing. Sorry, we got a
But we
motion
didn't vote.
and a second,
sorry.
not a vote.
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought you were
sorry.
discussing closing it, so that's
Yeah.
why I'm like.
Sorry.
All right, so there was a motion and a second to close the public hearing, which we need to do that first, and then we can do the
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay. So aye.
Yeah,
All in favor
Aye.
of closing the public hearing? Okay,
Thank
the
you.
public hearing is closed.
Sorry to
Well, now it's 8:26, but.
And I want to comment on that as well. So I've been giving a lot of thought to it, and I had actually pulled all the numbers off of the report today and was going through it, and I had come up with the 26% was what I thought would be equitable and fair. So I will second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to go with the CBRE report for the 26% with the maximum of, I don't know where my notes are, 12,700.
752.89.
All right. so-
Discussion?
Yes. So we have a motion, a second, and now we will discuss.
At 1 something this afternoon, which I didn't see until 4 o'clock this afternoon, was an entire spreadsheet from Bolton and Menk and the city administrator with a series of different breakdowns.
Today?
Yes.
That's where we're going off that 26%.
I didn't see-
And
well, that's why I'm confused. I
that's
didn't
what
see
I
that.
was
Probably gonna have to vote it.
looking at 5:25 tonight to try to get up to speed because we were having a meeting. Now, these historical figures, I like to be prepared, especially for something like this. I am not in a position to, I'm not saying 26% won't be my final number, but I am not in a position to vote in the affirmative tonight.
Sure.
Until I have an opportunity to do some investigation, because this was unfair to get this information at 4 o'clock this afternoon. I mean, I didn't check my email at 1:30, but even at 1:30, it was a little late to get this information. Not only that, I also want to look into, I was part of the discussion with Bolton and Menk last April on determining per unit versus linear feet. I want to get back into that because we have 2 different schools of thought on that tonight. I want to evaluate the different scenarios, and I want to look at the historical assessments that we've done, because I've been involved in Bud, I've been involved in Drake and Independence, and now I'm involved in this. I'm not saying I'm not going to make a decision in that affirmative. I'm just not prepared to make it tonight. So my vote will be no to that motion. And I would just like to postpone this until we have an opportunity to do some more research, because I just got sideswiped here.
Do you have anything?
That's my comment. So, put it up.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have a motion on the table
Yeah,
right
that
now
worked.
that we need to deal with, unless they would withdraw that motion and go towards a postponement where we could discuss it at a future meeting.
I would like to advocate for that, because I as well was working all day. I did my homework on my packets last night. There's new information. It sounds like that was made available by the engineer and staff today.
I think, so I will be open to doing that, but I will just say that we've all had the CBRE report since October 4th. We've all had access to the 2018 and the BUD projects since we've been on council. So I don't think it's a late decision, but I think if council members would be more comfortable.
I was not here on October 4th. I
Yes.
had a family member dying, so I missed all of that discussion as well, in addition to this information, so I do not feel like I can make an informed decision tonight.
Yeah, and I agree, and based on the point that when you said 26%, I knew what you were talking about, because I saw it, they haven't, so we can't expect them to make a decision on that.
I will withdraw my motion, but just to say that we all had the CBR report October 4th.
The motion has been withdrawn.
And can I make a new motion then, if we're gonna
Sure,
table?
if you're gonna go ahead, then
I
will.
would like to move then that we postpone it. Do we need a date right now, Clarissa, for our postponement, so the public knows?
No, you can say, motion postponed to a meeting to be determined. Should be fine.
Okay. I would say to the November meeting, so that people know when it is.
Okay, so our November meeting is, I'm just gonna check that. Our next meeting is November 22nd. Is that early enough for everything we need?
Yes.
In the county? Okay. Do you want to restate your motion, Councilmember Cahill, or would you like me to?
I would move that we postpone the decision on the final assessment roll to our November 22nd council meeting.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to move the approval of the final assessment to the November 22nd council meeting. I am looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember DeLuca. Any further discussion? I think we already did that. All in favor of moving it to November 22nd, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. All right. We have no old business on tonight's meeting, so we will move on to new business. And that is the West Hennepin Public Safety Police budget, which has been presented to council and discussed, but is in need of approval to go forward to the Police Commission meeting. And if anyone does have any specific questions, the chief is here, but we did have that opportunity.
I'll make a motion to approve the West Hennepin Public Safety budget.
There's a motion by Councilmember DeLong to approve the West Hennepin Public Safety budget as presented. Looking for a second?
Second?
Second by Councilmember Cahill. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the West Hennepin Public Safety budget?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Next item of business is the Maple Plain Fire Department budget, which has been presented by Chief McCoy and discussed at a workshop as well. Chief Schultz is here if there are questions, I believe, and Administrator Hadler. Otherwise, looking for a motion to approve the Maple Plain Fire budget.
There has been modifications to the budget since we last saw this in a workshop.
Correct.
Yes.
Would you like me to do just
I
a really
think-
quick overview?
Please.
Okay, so you will recall that our at that workshop discussion, The idea was we were gonna just kind of massage a little bit and try and get down to a certain number, and so that's what I did. So I took mainly out of training because that budget had increased so substantially from years prior. So I did decrease that by approximately 7% to get that down around $25,000. And then they did have some planned investment for chairs, office furniture. And so I removed that because I have kind of a plan for that with these chairs and future city hall things, and it just the timing wasn't there. So I took that off. So that did decrease. The total budget would have been down, I believe, roughly $9,000 from where it was at the last workshop. So not significant. It didn't take nearly as much change in their budget to get our overall levy increase down to that under 7 number that we were talking about.
I'd like to make a comment, find out if there's any traction on this with the balance of the city council. Taking $2,000 out of office furnishings is creative. It's low-hanging fruit. And we had a lot of discussion at the last workshop with some degree of direction, and I agree taking the $7,250 out of the training and travel budget, or line item. But there is a proportional amount that needs to be taken out of the part-time firefighter line item, which sits at $84,000 right now, because by reducing the training and travel, however he does it, whether it be blue card, whatever methodology he does, there's a proportionate amount of labor or hourly duty pay, or however you refer to it as, and so you scaled back the training and travel line item, but you didn't do a corresponding reduction in the $84,000. And my question is, isn't there a correlation between the two? Because everything that involves training also requires a commitment from the firefighters as far as the hours to receive the training, and therefore there should be a proportionate number coming out of the line item that is the part-time employees. We're very, very consistent at 3,000 hours in incident. Matter of fact, if you extrapolate out, if you look at the past 4 years, we're somewhere around 2,800 incident hours. Chief mentioned earlier, we're going to be over, if you extrapolate out where he is at three quarters of the way through the year, he might be right around 3,100 hours, so it still is around that 3,000 price point. He's got 6,400 hours in his budget, and 3,000 hours is incident, which historically we've had 2,000 hours at training and 1,000 hours of general attendance. And training this year has gone up. You can look at what's in the packet, and we've already exceeded the 2,000 hours. We're probably going to be the better part of 2,500 or 2,600 hours. I honestly think that if you take 7,250 hours, $7,250 out of his training budget, that 400 to 600 hours need to come out of the firefighting budget as well, and that's strictly from the training side. That doesn't even impact the general attendance side, and it does not impact the 3,000 hours of incident hours. I only bring that up to find out if anyone agrees with me, but we did one, but we left it somewhere else. So my question is, do we take any monies out of the $84,000 line item for firefighting?
So my counterpoint to that would be that that was kind of where we started trimming early on in this process. And so, you know, you and I have talked, or we all have kind of intermittently talked about breaking out those part-time hours into 3 buckets: response, training, general attendance. And so, and I don't remember if we had kind of settled on, but it, you know, in this, if you think about it in a 3-2-1 scenario, and maybe that's not entirely accurate.
Close enough.
Right, if 2,000 hours is for training, and we have 25 firefighters, that puts us at an average of 80 hours of training per firefighter. Corey, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Do you happen to know kind of on average how many hours?
Average hour breakdown
Yeah.
to be able to.
I don't
provide to the
have,
council at this time.
I have data somewhere. I don't know that I have it handy. But
I've got it.
Of course you have it.
Am I correct in saying that fire and EMS training last in 2020 was 1,836 hours?
Potentially.
And year-to-date, when this was drafted, I don't have a date on this, we had 1,462 hours, and you've annualized or extrapolated out 21 to be at 2,500 hours. And I've been mentioning in the fire commission meeting, and I mentioned in workshops, that if there's one thing that has been consistent since 17, it's been incident. And in this past year, we've seen an extrapolation, or we've seen an upward linear rise in general attendance and training. I personally believe it's COVID related. More people are home. I think it'll scale back. But even if that's not the case, if you're taking 22% out of his proposed training and travel budget, a corresponding or proportional amount of labor needs to come out of the $84,000. And I'm just saying that if that's the case, we probably won't finish 2022 at what we are expected to finish 2021 at, which is at 21,000 hours. This is a manageable, it's a manageable bucket of money. Here's your budget for training and travel. Here's one of those 3 legs of the stool that represents training, hourly pay for training. And if you're scaling back on one and spreading it out over 5 years instead of 3 years, however he elects to do it, I'm just wondering if that should be scaled back as well. And if that's not the direction of the council, so be it. We keep it at $84,000, but that is going to be something that is going to be watched.
Other discussion or questions? With that then, we are looking for a motion to approve the Maple Plain Fire Department budget as presented in tonight's packet.
So moved.
Moved by Cahill,
I'll second.
second by DeLong. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
The budget passes 4-1. Our next item of new business this evening is letter C, the fire department generator. And I'm going to turn that over to Clarissa.
Thank you, Mayor. I am certainly no expert on generators. But ours is significantly in need of replacement. We have provided a number of quotes within your packet. Staff is currently recommending we go with the pre-owned. It's a Caterpillar / Olympian 75 kilowatt from Powerhouse. It's a 2005. It only has 75 hours on it. It's been very well maintained. This is a larger generator than we necessarily need, but the vendor was very interested in this because of its low hours and the level of maintenance that it has seen, and it's also it was nearby or something. It had something to do with
actually
the
available.
Yeah, well, right,
We're
and
not gonna
there's
have to
that.
wait
And so, you will recall that our the new ones were the deliveries were out
30
over-
to 38 weeks.
Yeah, so quite a lead time on that. So staff is very interested. Ray's very interested in getting the replacement installed before winter and making sure that we have reliable service. There is also an extended warranty, additional 2-year warranty. Well, there's a 2-year warranty included in the price. There is additional warranty available if we would like it for an additional fee.
Do we have to decide on the warranty now?
Probably. It's in the,
$1,000 a year for 2 to 3 years is not a lot of money to pay for a warranty. And even though this thing's 16 years old, it doesn't have any hours on it. I mean, but I would pay the extra $2,000 or $3,000 to extend the warranty out so that it's consistent with the other warranties that the other two quotes represent. That would be my. Just plug and play?
Pardon? It's my understanding that the used one comes with a 2-year warranty, but we could buy additional.
For $1,000 a year.
Okay,
Correct.
so how many years are you recommending?
Well,
Councilmember Fay, for
uh,
clarification.
At least 4, or so 2,000 additional.
So an additional 2,000?
Yeah, one of the bids represented a 4-year warranty and one of the bids represented a 5-year warranty. I honestly don't think we're gonna need it, but I mean, peace of mind after 4 years, it's our baby, but, I don't know how to explain it. This thing has not been used.
Which can also be a problem. So yeah, I'd recommend the warranty also.
Well, we'll know right away, won't we?
Yeah, first year.
All right, is anyone comfortable or ready to make a motion?
I'd move we purchase the used generator for the fire department with the 2-year extended warranty.
All right, so Councilmember DeLuca has made a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, that we purchase the pre-owned Caterpillar Olympian 75K generator from Powerhouse for $25,000 with an additional 2 year of warranty at $1,000 each year. Councilmember DeLuca made the motion. Councilmember Fay, do you still second?
2-year or 3-year?
And well, for 4, it would be an additional 2.
Right, we were thinking 5, weren't you?
You want that?
2 plus 2?
2 plus
2 plus
3.
I'm open. I mean, it's cheap. $1,000 is cheap.
If no one seconds the motion, we can make it. If you want 5. Is anyone willing to second the motion on the table?
Is it what's on the before year on the table?
Yep.
I had already seconded the 4-year. We can vote on that and repost the motion. Can't we modify the motion?
Also move to amend the motion to make it a
Yeah.
5-year.
There you go.
And I've just
I'll
done
second that.
All right. So there's an amended motion to purchase the used generator for $25,000 and add an additional 3-year warranty at $1,000 a year. So we have a first for the amended motion and a second. Any further discussion on the amended motion? All in favor of approving the amended motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item of business this
Point of
evening.
clarification, Mayor.
Yes.
With an amendment to a motion like that, you now got to go back to the motion as amended and vote. You have to do it in 2 steps.
I'm sorry. All right, thank you. So which part did we not do, Councilmember DeLuca?
You voted on the amendment to the motion.
Mhm.
Now we have to go back to the motion as amended and vote.
Okay. So we will now
That's your procedure.
vote on the amended motion. And does it need to be first and seconded?
Already was.
So we're good. Okay, thank you. All in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. All right, next item of business tonight is council reports and other business. And we'll start with Councilmember DeLong.
Oh, nothing really. I mean, a lot of meetings.
Like, wake up.
But nothing outside of our regular workshops and meetings. So.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Fay?
Yeah, outside of numerous workshops this month, regularly attend the Orono Rotary. Was fortunate enough to spend some time at a strategic planning with Rotary, which was very good. So, other than that, that's it.
Well, as you all heard, I did a little door knocking, as I enjoy doing. I also attended the chamber meeting where we heard from our representatives Hertas and Osmic. I also attended the Art in the Park event, which is, it's always wonderful to see our new park in use. Lots of fun was had there. And then just this week, I attended the watershed meeting as well.
All right, thank you. Councilmember DeLuca?
Attended various workshops, and I want to just pause for a moment to thank each of you for, we have had some very difficult discussions over the last month or so, but they've been done with respect. They've been done with foresight, and staff has been very well prepared for those. Thank you to our consultants. Thank you to our administrator for preparing those. Budgets are difficult to discuss, hard to put in place, but it's a necessary part of the fiscal responsibility that we do. Additionally, I had a meeting earlier in the month with the Highway 12 planning group. There is work that is beginning on the westbound piece, if I understand this, Gary, from sort of the Independence area out to Delano, so the next chunk of that. And there was a preliminary sort of information gathering phase that was done. There's additional separation, possible additional roundabouts. Engineers love their roundabouts. And I'm actually getting used to those roundabouts. They make sense. They keep traffic flowing. But that piece of the project is probably 3 to 5 years out still. So preliminary phases, as we're finishing up one phase, working on the one that's gonna go next year, then they're looking to that piece that's 3 to 5 years out. So constantly looking out to try to make that Highway 12 corridor a safer place to be.
All right, thank you. I as well, as you've all heard, we've had many meetings, so appreciate everyone's work and diligence with that. And was able to attend the Minnesota Mayors Association annual meeting, was able to attend the Northwest Hennepin League of Municipalities meeting where Commissioner Anderson spoke, was able to attend the Regional Council of Mayors meeting as well. And then we did have a Minnesota Women in City Government meeting, and we are planning a big event right now for November 19th at the League of Minnesota Cities building from 11 to 1, and anyone is welcome to join us. It will be first in line to vote in Minnesota, the 19th Amendment Trailblazers. So if you'd like more information on that, please check their website or talk with me. And then as well with the Chamber of Commerce, the Highway 12 Safety Coalition meeting has been working diligently. We will be following up with all the restaurant owners and prepare for phase 2 of construction. And this weekend, hopefully you've all seen and heard, there will be a truck and treat event in front of Iron Exchange and Forkless. That will take place from 11 to 3. It is for young and old alike, another community event. So come on down and join us for that. And as well, just wanted to say thank you to the Maple Plain Fire Department for hosting the open house. It was a fun event, as always, even as an adult if I didn't have a punch card. But thank you for all the work you all do. So it's been a busy month, and we will continue to do good things, and appreciate everyone being here tonight and the opportunity to serve. Any other reports or other business? Okay, hearing none, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Motion by DeLuca.
Can I second?
You second by Fay. All in favor of adjourning?
In front of somebody.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the meeting's adjourned at 8:54.